Aari, a skilled martial artist, participates in underground fights to cover the medical bills of his childhood girlfriend, but his opponent turns out to be a bear that he defeats despite the odds by passionately screaming his beloved's name, emphasizing the power of love. However, the victory is short-lived as the bear brutally attacks Aari, sending him into a hallucination of a past promise made to his friend-zoned girlfriend. This memory fuels him with determination, and he defeats the bear mercilessly. Later, Aari discovers there's no money for him, and to worsen matters, his friend has been sold before the man reveals that she died despite them doing whatever they could, leading Aari to punch the man before a girl with him explains that the organizers never intended to help before Aari is comforted by the man, who shares their plan to go to Mars for a cure. Aari wakes up in a hospital a week later, learning of a risky surgery performed on him for a mission to Mars as Captain Komashi introduces a German Captain Adolf, revealing a team of misfits thrown together, after which the team discusses the mission to Mars, where they need to obtain samples of an evolved cockroach species carrying a deadly virus called the alien engine.
Very cool.
With a 100% death rate and no Earth-based solution, they must go to the planet to study and develop a vaccine and later annex one sets off for Mars. Aari and the other crew members try to enjoy their time before they land on the red planet, and while the girls are talking about their crushes, Eva asks Sheila if she has a thing for the captain, which she agrees to before they hurry towards the bathroom, where they run into a woman who tells Sheila to confess and be true to her feelings before leaving. Meanwhile, the boys are enjoying a game of baseball that keeps getting more and more intense. A guy tries to solve it, but gets punched in the face instead, so Adolf steps in and puts them back into their seats. Meanwhile, a man enters a bar and talks to the bartender, telling him that they are going back to Mars. On the ship, while trying to peep into the girls' bathroom,
"You naughty, naughty boy!"
the boys come across a wild roach that Aari tries to fight, but Michelle arrives and tells him to leave as she suspects more have infiltrated the ship, which turns out to be true as two more are effortlessly killing the humans and crushing them beneath their feet, while Aari and Marcos hurry to the medicine room to get the serum that required for them to power up, but find that the roaches are in the room destroying their medicine as Captain Komashi informs Washington that this plan has failed. As the bloodbath continues, Captain Komashi asks permission from the higher-ups to get back to Earth with the roaches, but they refuse as 6 samples are not enough and tell him to trust his fellow commanders, who quickly divide the roles, and Joseph help Eva up as she's sitting in front of a roach in terror. He tells the rookies to escape, so they quickly hurry into a room where Adolf tells them to stay back and effortlessly defeats the roach. After killing the roaches, all the commanders regroup and assign the rookies to different teams, after which they say their goodbyes to each other before splitting up and descending aboard land carriers, as Aari gets assigned to Michelle's team, while Sheila got assigned to Komachi's team, who managed to land in a safe spot, unlike Team Joseph, which got ambushed by the roaches, while Team Asimov landed peacefully, but later came face to face with a roach while gazing at the pyramids built on the planet. On the battlefield, the roach surprises Team Asimov with its super speed and swiftly cuts the woman Alina's head off, while Captain Komachi remarks that there's nothing on the radar and that they're going to move. Standing in front of everyone, he tells them that Plan Delta is in place, meaning there should be a rescue vessel heading for them from Earth. The vessel will land on Mars in about 40 days, after which they will return to Earth, but until then they have 2 missions: to rendezvous where the Annex crashed, bring the research equipment back online, and bring back a sample of the Mars virus, for that they'll have to regroup with Michelle and the others. Once that's done, they will recover Annex 1, but as the research team lands, Sheila suddenly spots a roach on the windshield before it breaks into the ship. The roach punches through the glass near Sheila's head, but Marcos remarks that the punch wasn't aimed at her, wondering if the roaches are trying to destroy the medicines to prevent the humans from transforming, before Captain Komashi quickly steers the vehicle away and throws it off before heading out with Marcos and Kiji to capture it. But the roach unexpectedly runs away before another one lands inside the escape vessel filled with researchers. Sheila tries aiming towards the roach's head, firing a shot and catching it in a specially designed net capable of withstanding 3 times the strength of the roach, but it ejects acid from its hands, targeting Sheila's torso, after which she slowly and painfully dies in Komachi's hands. Analyzing the situation, the captains deduce that the roaches have made a plan to organize into groups and systematically hunt down survivors. Meanwhile, the agent updates the old man on their new strategies to combat the roaches. However, they remain skeptical, doubting that ordinary animal genes can be as strong as these human-sized roaches. as a woman gets ready to fly but suddenly gets grabbed by a roach because when the speed of cockroaches is magnified to human size, they can approximately travel at 320 kilometers per second. Fortunately, they still have insect fighters on their side, including Marcos, who possesses enhanced genes from the spider, granting him immense strength, ferocity, and speed faster than the roaches, leaving them no room for counterattacks. However, he is distracted as he sees the haunting flashbacks and memories of Sheila, making him think back on his childhood in Mexico, when Marcos and his sister enrolled in the deadly program out of necessity. Returning to the battlefield, he ferociously uses his rage against the roaches, his eyes filled with tears of sorrow for Sheila. However, despite being fueled by endless anger, Marcos soon slowly gets worn out, after which a roach tries to ambush him but gets immediately stabbed. Meanwhile, Michelle, who underwent enhancement surgery, get merged with genes from an ant species, which in particular has a suicidal behavior that makes them explode, because of which the roaches blow up as soon as they make contact with her. Meanwhile, Aari excels in combat and was merged with a moth species known as Umatojipanica. In a flashback, it is revealed that Aari encountered a patient afflicted with the AE virus, which left an impression on him, and because he was determined to find a cure, he promised to return alive and save the child. In present day, the squad members start fighting the roaches, not leaving them in a state to fight, but leaving them alive for further research and to develop a cure. As the initial battle ends, Michelle and Aari make their way to a nearby lake, where she asks if they're already investigated the water here, to which he answers that they have, and that it's basically the same as Earth water, remarking that this lake is apparently very deep just from the frozen soil melting, after which she sits down and tells him to go ahead and call the others, and is washing her hands when a different-looking roach suddenly lands on the escape vessel, and another one grabs Michelle's collar from beneath the lake's surface. She tries to inject herself, but the serum gets knocked out of her hands before she suddenly gets pulled in as Aari rushes forward, but barely misses her outstretched fingers. As she's getting pulled deeper and deeper by the roach, she tells Aari that he did well and was a good subordinate. Alex observes a weird-looking roach with different-appearing legs jumping onto the escape vessel of the 2nd Division and delivering a kick that allows it to seize control of the escape vessel, leaving everyone aboard shocked as it takes flight. Fortunately, the boys swiftly engage in pursuit to take it down, and as he catches up, Aari tells everyone to unleash their full strength, anticipating a messy battle because of the different creature. Meanwhile, underwater, Michelle realizes that the legs of the roach pulling her belong to a beetle-like bug capable of swimming, which leads her to realize that the roaches have manipulated the corpses. Both the roach and Michelle manage to escape, but it isn't over yet because the beetle roach grabs Michelle again, who quickly wraps her legs around it, after which they start slowly drowning for over 2 minutes. This extended time underwater is enough to create fractures in the bug's legs because of the leg lock and water pressure. Meanwhile, the roach turns away from a beaten-down Aari to operate the systems, but he suddenly gets up, asking if it's surprised. He tells the roach that he bets the person who had the grasshopper powers was stronger than it, and even though its strength, speed, and durability are a threat, they have a leader with higher intelligence who has a set goal, but even then they have no experience in fighting. The roach rushes forward, but Aari binds it, asking what's wrong and why it can't kill him even if it's this close, before kicking its face and easily defeating it. He binds its leg with a string and drags it along the ship before receiving an SOS message as Asimov's division faces off against an army of roaches and say they're going to stop Rahav's legacy. Upon awakening, Michelle is confused as to where she is and what happened before suddenly remembering and seeing that the roach is still alive, after which she quickly grabs its hand and fiercely starts pulling it before ripping it off his body and noticing a string, realizing that Aari saved her. The roach from the ship lands down before Aari, who tells Michelle that he'll take care of it, but she swiftly smashes it down and he binds it with his strings. Once that's done, Michelle inspects the ship's condition to see if it's still operational and sees that it's suitable for land use but not for flying, so she instructs the boys to change the tires while she changes her clothes. Meanwhile, Asimov's division's still at the mysterious pyramids, fighting the roaches before Captain Asimov uses his crab powers to regenerate a new arm and pushes the roaches back before ultimately defeating them. However, it turns out that the roaches were not decapitating their opponents and that it was all a hallucination. With the roaches defeated, Captain Asimov puts the main roach in a chokehold, reminiscing about his days in the army and protecting his homeland and sick daughter before Division 3 ultimately catches 2 roaches heading towards the pyramids. Meanwhile, Adolf updates Michelle on their status, and she urges him to return quickly to the mother ship before Team Asimov arrives. Once that's done, she remarks that they haven't ran into any cockroaches yet and that they're probably nocturnal, meaning their time is just starting as an army of cockroaches gets ready to face the humans. As a young Adolf is getting experimented on, a voice says the current success rate is 20%, and that they'll be able to use creatures other than insects if this is a success. A man goes through a group of children and chooses one, but seeing the expression decides to not force them if possible before Adolf says he'll do it, after which they begin the mosaic organ operation. Isabella smashes through a group of roaches one after another, seeing which the others remark that she never fails to amaze them and feel a bit bad that she's doing all the work, but a girl answers that they don't have a choice, to which a man adds that it would have been nice to have better powers to fight with, before Adolf tells him that they're going to have to fight, so they should think of how they can make their powers useful. As Division 5 gets ready to move, their ship suddenly gets attacked by a pair of missiles as they face an army of roaches. Isabella tells Eva to wait for her and goes out with Adolf, who says he'll take care of the 300 or so roaches while she steals the Division 4 ship from them. Being infested with the electric eel, Adolf starts rapidly electrocuting the roaches while remembering how he'd met a girl named Rose and had gone on a date with her, after which she'd later become his wife, but one day he found out that she was having an affair, after which she swore to not do something like this again. Sometime later, their child was born, but upon checking whether it had inherited the mosaic organ from him, he had discovered that it wasn't his. In present day, he angrily tells the roaches that he'll kill them. Isabella faces a large, muscular roach using her powerful cricket legs that allow her to have much better speed, but this proves useless when the roach instantly vaporizes her upper half as Adolf, fueled by memories of his Rose, vents out his pent-up anger to ferociously unleash his electrocution on all the roaches. Later, the roaches' leader arrives on a hill with another one carrying a flag as the two appear to communicate, pausing the random attacks, but the situation takes a turn when the roaches coordinate their attacks strategically, leading to slowly overwhelming Adolf's slash. On the other side, Michelle senses that something big is going to happen. While in the battlefield, Adolf angrily sits around piles of dismembered roach bodies as the boss lazily orders his followers to continue the attacks, but this time the other squad members quickly step in, ready to sacrifice themselves to save their captain, but the roaches not only organize their attacks but also use weapons against the team. With no one left to face off against the threat, the squad slowly seems to get overwhelmed before Adolf slowly gets up and rises once more, effortlessly defeating the roaches in front of him and confronts the lazy-eyed roach before hurling his daggers at it, but the boss's bodyguards block the daggers with a flag and move forward to finish him off. As he slowly falls down, he looks at the two knives lodged into the flag and flips a middle finger toward the boss, seeing which it turns around to look at the flag before a massive lightning bolt pierces through it. The intense lightning ferociously tears through the roaches before Adolf collapses after being exhausted from exerting every ounce of his strength, and Eva rushes to his side. However, the relief from this victory is short-lived as a roach climbs the hill and begins stomping on its leader's chest, which suddenly revives the roach's boss, who apparently orders the army of roaches to resume the attack on the defenseless group, after which the creatures open fire on the worn-down Adolf, being shielded by Eva before he creates a lightning shield by gathering his remaining strength, but the attacks still keep coming as the roaches start throwing rocks after finishing all their ammunition. Adolf tightly holds onto Eva before sacrificing himself to save her life, after which the boss slowly approaches them to claim his body, but Eva bravely stands up for him, but all her efforts are useless against the roaches. As the roach is about to seize Adolf, an alarm suddenly interrupts them, causing all the roaches to hurriedly scram as unknown to Adolf. The people who experimented on his body implanted a bomb inside him, not as protection against roaches, but as an insurance that no one else could pick apart the tech inside him if he dies, as the group faces their end together, with smiles on their faces, with Adolf, who was unable to find happiness with his family, but discovered it within his team, who stood by him until the last moment. Meanwhile, back on Mars with Komachi's team, who are fighting against roaches, as Marcos narrowly avoids losing his head, remarking that the number 1 division still has someone, as a girl named Sanjo Kanako slashes through the flying roaches. Kanako slashes through the roaches with her wings before being caught in a net as the roaches approach her, but she smiles as Marcos stabs through them and thanks her for buying them, sometime telling Kiji he's counting on him as Kiji faces a big roach, reminiscing on how he went daily training and earned the title of the new lightweight champion as a skilled boxer. But despite this success, his thoughts and emotions were always towards his sick mother. With these struggles, he found out that his retina was detaching, forcing him to retire from boxing and to work as a delivery boy. Unfortunately, his mother's health kept worsening, and Michelle went to recruit when he fell into debt, attempting to cover her medical expenses. Initially hesitant, he eventually agreed to join under the condition that he could choose his animal companion, choosing the mandy shrimp due to its powerful eyesight in low-light conditions and its powerful arms capable of breaking tough shells. In present day, as he faces off against the roach that keeps throwing heavy punches, Kiji skillfully dodges them with precise footwork and keeps delivering powerful blows to the body, but suddenly becomes distracted as memories of his mother flood his mind, after which he gets pummeled and is sent colliding with the cave walls. Kichi slowly gets up again and throws a powerful punch to the roach's chest, targeting its controlling organs and immobilizing it before asking if it learned something and saying that hitting without letting them hit is in martial art, and then standing back up within 10 seconds of being hit is called boxing. Surrounded by the threat posed by a roach with silkworm-like powers, Komachi is flooded with memories of Nana, a girl that was killed by the roaches on Mars during the Bugs 2 mission. Filled with regret and vowing for revenge, he relentlessly shoots the roach with spikes. Meanwhile, the No. 3 Division explores the pyramids without running into any roaches and stumbling upon a craft launched a century ago, which Asimov reveals as the first unmanned vessel, and speculates that the roaches have not only stolen weapons and chemicals from the Bugs mission, but also a powerful weapon. Suddenly, a loud, deafening sound reveals the roaches' use of nuclear weapons as an army rises from underground to attack Division 2. Meanwhile, Asimov's squad discovers maps of ship technology and suspects that an Annex project member betrayed them from the start. While outside, Marcos prepares to bid farewell until a ball from the sky, launched by Alex, saves him and transforms him, after which he starts fighting in ground combat, and as Division 2 detonates the last missile in the sky, Michelle goes forward to face the roaches while Aari faces another group and says they'll see who the real vermin is. As Alex watches from afar with the rest of the squad, he says Aari will protect Marcos and the others. As Aari, Kanako, and Marcos battle the roaches, he faces a mole beetle that has 7 powerful talents, while Michelle faces off against a rainbow beetle and is helped by Jared, who convinced her to let him help with his powers. Alex arrives and Marcos immediately apologizes to him for Sheila, so he knocks him aside, telling him to read the situation as they get surrounded by the roaches before saying that they're going to defeat the roaches and the traitor and return to Earth, while Team Asimov sees that their information had been leaked to the roaches beforehand and that they were already anticipating the humans. As Aari furiously tries to keep the roach in his binds, he goes wild and starts tearing through it before Michelle and Komachi bring him back, and they inject themselves with the serum and start fighting again, after which Aari tells the oncoming army of roaches that they won't lose even if they steal their technology and get stronger, telling them to not underestimate the Earth and its organisms.